Hey folks, in this video tutorial, I'm going to be bringing you along and teaching you how to make a traditional fermented drink called Beet Kvass. Now, there's a lot of different variations of this using veggies and fruit, but in the fall months, once the garden is harvested and the beets are put into cold storage, I like to bring some out and make this fermented drink and take it in the fall. Beets are great for the liver, and this drink is something I like to take first thing on the morning on an empty stomach. Now, fair warning, it tastes very, very different. If you don't like beets, you're not gonna like this drink because it's literally just beets fermented in water. You keep the juice, get rid of the solids. I'll show you how to make it here. But I wanted to break it down for you because I think it's a wonderful thing you can make with your root veggies going into the fall season. When it comes to cutting up your beets, be careful about your surface, your clothes, because red beets do stain. And when you cut them up for your jars, you could even just quarter these if you wanted, but I think you get better water penetration and absorption from them when they're smaller. So I like to cut them just into wedges. Our jar is mostly filled. I do like to leave about, 1 to 2 inches of open space at the top of the jar. And now we're just gonna add filtered water to it, put a lid on it, and let it sit just at the back of your kitchen counter, and it will ferment all on its own. It has all the natural yeast that it needs to go into fermentation on the skin of your fruit as present. And then also the beets have natural sugar content. So you don't need to add anything to this. All you've got to do is cover the beets in water and then watch it. So let's go do that, and then I'll walk you through some things you need to be aware of, maybe a few troubleshooting tips if issues like mold or something like that comes up, all right? Beets are dense enough that they don't float, but I do like to add water I like to leave maybe about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of open space at the top. And then to let it ferment, I actually have one of my glass lids and rubber rings that I just like to set on top. And let me tell you why I don't actually fasten this down. The reason I do not seal my lids into place is because as the natural yeasts that are on the skin of the beets, as they go into action and start consuming the sugars that are going to appear in the water as the beets and the water infuse and kind of meld together, the yeasts are going to start releasing something called carbon dioxide, which will result in a buildup of pressure in your jar if you seal it with just, let's say, a tin canning lid, or if you have a glass lid like me and you fasten it down, you're gonna have to be very careful to break that seal often. And if the pressure builds up too much, your beet juice is gonna spray all over your kitchen when you release the seal. It's just a bad idea. So I usually find that just setting a lid on top is enough to keep fruit flies out and other critters, and it still allows the carbon dioxide to escape from the jar. So now we are just gonna let this sit for anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. The liquid is gonna grow darker and darker as the beets juices and the water infuse into one another. And if at any point throughout the process you see bubbles on top of the surface of your water, you're going to want to skim them off at least every other day. Bubbles will often lead to mold growth. You want to keep the surface of your ferment clear so that no mold can take off and grow on there. If you start to see a little bit, you can go ahead and skim it off, but if it keeps coming back, you probably shouldn't keep your Beet Kvass. You can try wiping the rim and transferring it to a different container and see if that helps, but in general, just by keeping that foam cleaned off the surface, you won't have mold issues. Now, I'm gonna let this sit, but I actually wanna take you and show you my Beet Kvass that's been sitting here for almost 4 weeks now. You can see how much darker it is in color as compared to the one I just did. We are gonna strain the solids out of this one. There are still chunks of beet in it, and so I'm gonna walk you through that process and also walk you through bottling up Beet Kvass and some things you should know about that. So let's get a bowl and a straining cloth and I'll show you how to strain it off. My cotton cloths that I like to use for straining solids out of fermented liquids, and especially when I'm making my homemade fruit or berry vinegars, I love having these cloths on hand. They get looking nasty, but they work. I'll put a link below. I am an Amazon affiliate. I'll throw that link below where you can go to get the exact cloth you see me using in this tutorial. They're wonderful to have on hand and they're all natural. All right, let's get this strained off. So as you can see here, all the beets are left behind. See if I can get my camera to focus in there for you. These are no good. I usually just throw these out now, but we have some beautiful, beautiful kvass here. So I'm just going to lift up my cloth, strain it out just in case any solid bits made their way through. That cloth can go in the laundry, and we are going to pour this into a pourable container. When it comes to pouring your Beet Kvass into a storage container, I highly recommend, because beet juice stains so badly, that you use some sort of a bottle or a jug. This is an olive oil bottle that I had saved, the nice swing top, and so we are going to use a funnel to get this in. Beet juice stains so badly, I highly recommend that you transfer it to a pourable container over your kitchen sink just in case you spill something. All right, folks, that's how you make Beet Kvass. Now, this is sealed up in a bottle. You could leave it out on your counter if you wanted to. It would be fine for a couple months, but just be aware that it's going to continue fermenting. And if you have it sealed up, it is still going to release carbon dioxide. So what I like to do is I like to put it in the fridge. Put it in the fridge, and that just ensures that you don't have any more fermentation and any more release of carbon dioxide, because nobody likes to open a bottle and have beet juice spray all over their kitchen, right? So I put it in the fridge. I will make sure I break the seal a day or two after I put it in, just to make sure no buildup occurred between when I put it in and the point where it chilled and actually reached proper temps. And to take this, folks, this is not something you are going to want to drink like an apple juice or some fresh pressed fruit juice. It is very unusual. It's very earthy in its flavor. And most people, when they take it in the morning, they don't take more than probably a quarter cup. Some people like to sprinkle and stir in a little bit of salt. It's not something you're going to want to guzzle, and it takes a while to get used to it, all right? So just a heads up on that. Drink carefully. Your body might go through a bit of a detox as well if you start taking this regularly. So that's just a heads up for you. If you want a written tutorial on how to make Beet Kvass and you want to see some photos, I'll link to it below this video. I will also put in some affiliate links to the filtering cloths I like to use for separating solids from juices. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them for me and I will get back to you on them. All right, folks, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.